NFL tanking, one-man solution. Do teams actually tank games and seasons for higher draft picks? Well, the short answer is yes. There's a lot of proof out there. There's a lot of evidence you can look at all over the place. But yes, they do it. How do they do it? Well, they do it in a lot of different ways. They'll hurt players that aren't actually hurt. They'll trade away good players for next year's draft picks to make sure this team's bad. But whatever, there is tanking, both on an individual game basis and on a season basis. Oh, why is this a problem? Well, it's a problem because the integrity of the game is involved. When teams are purposely losing seasons and games, the whole integrity of the sport is hurt by it. And it's been hurt from the beginning, but it's getting worse. Teams are more obvious about it now. They're just dumping players willy-nilly. In fact, trades should maybe even be axed at some point because they're being so obvious about it. So the integrity of the game is really starting to get hurt by all this tanking from the NFL. They've just gotten better and bigger at it. Second, I don't want to have to hope for my team to lose. I don't think fans should want that. Millions of fans every year at the end of the year are rooting for their team to lose. Owners are rooting for their teams to lose so that they can get a higher draft pick. That shouldn't happen. Everybody in the organization, all their fans, should want teams to win. We shouldn't want them to lose. There's just something wrong about that. Any plan for it to work, for it to have any kind of a success, has to disconnect the first round of the draft from the team records. First round of the draft is too important. Steelers, if they would have lost against Baltimore, they would have went from 20 to 14, and they would have gotten the equivalent of a high third round draft pick in value. Not to mention the value they would have gotten in rounds 2 through 7, just in the first round, just by one loss and moving up, they would have gained the equivalent value of a high third round draft pick. And no matter what you do, whether you set up a lottery or anything else, it's still going to have value and teams are still going to tank it. So it has to have three things, I think. It must be fair to all teams. It should alternate between top and bottom. And we should have a top 8 pick every 4 years. Okay, let's go to this. That's a little bit foggy. Must be fair to all teams. Well, there's 32 teams. There's 32 draft picks. In order to make it fair, over the next 32 years, every team gets every draft pick. That's fair to all teams. They didn't do this originally because originally there was no free agency. Originally there was no salary cap. Those things equal out the teams. That is the great equalizer. That is a way to make sure that teams don't run away with it being good, is every team has an equal opportunity because of the salary cap and because of free agency. If they make good decisions, any team can be good. And because every team is going to get every draft pick, it's all equal. It's all fair amongst everybody. It should alternate between top half and the bottom half just because you can do it. If you're dropping into every team, if you're dropping in the back half of the draft, hey, at least we have hope next year because we're in the top half of the draft. And if we get the benefits of being in the top half of the draft this year, yes, we're going to pay the price by getting in the bottom half of the draft next year. Also, not only because I know how this ends, you should have a top 8 pick every 4 years. Because there's a way to do it. There's a way to set up this draft so that every team has a top 8 pick every 4 years. How you do it? This is how you do it. You have 8 columns. If you go down each column, this is how you read this. Go from the left to right, or go from left down, do this column, and then this column. So for Jacksonville, they're the first pick in the draft this year, right? So if you go along with this idea, next year you'll have the 32nd pick in the draft. Year after that, you'll have the 16th pick in the draft. Year after that, you'll have the 17th pick in the draft. But the year after that, you'll have the 2nd pick in the draft. So, okay, get the first pick in the draft this year, and 4 years later, you get the 2nd pick in the draft. That's pretty damn good. And again, 31, 15, 18, then you get the third pick in the draft. That's damn good. Oh, that's bad for the other teams. Really? Let's look at it. If you're 6th, Well, 2 years later, you're 11. 2 years after that, you're 7. 2 years after that, you're 9. 2 years after that, you're 8. 2 years after that, you're 9. And 2 years after that, you're 1. That's pretty good. Granted, you're 6. You're 6, 11, 7, 10, 8, 9, and then 1. I mean, that's, you got hope. You got hope. And that's the thing is, no matter where you are, you got hope. You got hope right around the corner. And that's what the draft is all about. It's about providing hope. Well, that's one man's solution. Stop NFL from tanking. The end.